Okay, today we're going beyond the headlines, beyond the rocket launches, and really trying to understand the strategic architecture of the Musk empire. You see, this isn't just a random collection of ambitious companies. It's a carefully designed, interlocking system. And getting a handle on that system, well, that's key to understanding where modern industry is headed.
So it all starts with this really big question, and this is what's going to frame our whole analysis today. In the 21st century, how do you actually build a new kind of industrial empire from scratch? We're not talking about empires of land anymore. This is an empire of technology, of data, and of a pretty radical vision.
All right, first up, you've got Tesla, the company that didn't just make a cool electric car. They totally rewired an industry that's been around for over 100 years.
And then, of course, there's SpaceX, the venture that did what so many people thought was just impossible, making reusable rockets a reality and just completely changing the economics of getting to space.
And rounding it out, we have X, with its huge ambitions to be the everything app. Now, look, on the surface, these all seem like totally separate things, right? A car company, a rocket company, a social media platform, but as we're about to find out, they are all pieces of a much, much larger and deeply connected plan.
And that's really the core puzzle here. These aren't just standalone businesses that happen to be successful. To really get what's going on, you have to see them for what they are, a single, interconnected ecosystem.
This gets us to the first big question from the material we're looking at. It's not about Tesla or SpaceX, it's about how they all fit together. How do all these things combine to become something more? And that's exactly what we're going to dig into.
Okay, so let's pull back the curtain and look at the actual master plan. You'll see it's built on just a few core ideas, but they are really unconventional principles that are just crucial to how this whole empire works.
The whole thing really, it stands on three main pillars. You've got radical vertical integration, first principles design, and cross-company synergy. So let's break them down one by one.
Okay, first up, vertical integration. You know, most companies today try to outsource everything they possibly can. Musk, he does the complete opposite. By controlling everything, I mean everything. From the raw materials to the software, his companies can move at an absolutely insane speed and keep total control over innovation.
I mean, just think about how different this is. The old way of making cars, it's this super complicated dance with thousands of different suppliers. Musk's philosophy is totally different. He's obsessed with building the factory itself. He calls it the machine that builds the machine. That's the real product. Yeah, it's incredibly hard to do, but the payoff in speed and control is just massive.
All right, pillar number 2, this one's a way of thinking. First principles. So instead of just copying how things have always been done or making small improvements, you break a problem down to its most basic, fundamental truths. Like, what are batteries actually made of? What do those raw materials cost on the open market? What is physics says the absolute cheapest you could make a rocket for? You start right there, from zero.
And believe me, this is way more than just a thought exercise. When you think this way, you're forced to reinvent stuff that everyone else just takes for granted. It's how SpaceX figured out that, yes, rockets can be reusable. It's how Tesla completely re-engineered the guts of a car. It leads to these huge breakthroughs that competitors, who are kind of stuck in their ways, they just don't see. And this is where it all comes together. The third pillar, synergy. And now, this is not just some empty corporate buzzword. This is real. Think about it. Tesla gets amazing at batteries and AI. Well, guess who can use that knowledge? SpaceX. The super strong metal alloys that SpaceX develops for its rockets? Hey, that sounds perfect for the Cybertruck, right? The massive global data network that Starlink and X are building, that could be the backbone for a future fleet of self-driving Teslas. Each company literally makes the others better. Okay, so now that we've seen the blueprint, that leads us to the next massive question. What would it actually take to compete with this thing? Yeah, this is the multi-trillion-dollar question for every CEO and investor out there. What's the playbook? Because it's pretty clear you can't just go out and build a better car or a cheaper rocket. You have to take on the entire system.
So hurdle number 1, the supply chain. To even have a chance at matching the empire's speed, a competitor can't just order parts. They'd have to pour in billions, with a B, of dollars and probably wait a decade or more just to build their own manufacturing from the ground up.
Then you've got the people, the talent. Look, it is ridiculously hard to build one world-class engineering team in, say, battery tech or AI. A challenger would have to build like 5 of them all at once, and then get them to work together seamlessly like they're one big team. Good luck with that.
And maybe the biggest wall you'd hit is strategic. It's the culture. This empire is run with a single long-term vision,
and a crazy high tolerance for risk. But a typical public company? They're answering to a board and to shareholders who are sweating about next quarter's earnings report. Trying to sell them on some wild 20-year ecosystem plan? That's nearly impossible. So where does this all leave us? Let's zoom out for a second and think about what this new model really means for the future.
So, what's the big takeaway here? What should you remember? Well, first, we're looking at a totally new kind of 21st century industrial empire. Its power comes from how deeply integrated it is. And the key is, you're not competing with a product, you're competing with the whole self-supporting ecosystem. And that right there is a barrier to entry that is just ridiculously, almost impossibly high.
And that leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. Is this tightly integrated, founder-led model, is this the future of how big things get built? Or is it a giant monolith so dependent on one person's vision that it's actually incredibly fragile? And maybe, just maybe, it's doomed to fall apart one day. The answer to that, well, that's going to define a lot about the world we live in.